How do we know that Jesus actually said that or actually did that? One of the first lines of reasoning that I went to was they wrote as eyewitnesses what their ears had heard, what their eyes had seen, what their hands had handled. And Justice Ruffin, in the case of State versus Morris, made this observation: all trials, all legal proceedings proceed upon the idea that some confidence is due to human testimony. Some of the best testimony we have historically is eyewitness testimony. Now, there are problems with that. I mean, you can perceive it wrong and everything else. And this is why it's good to have multiple eyewitness testimony. In the book of Acts, in chapter 1, verses 1 to 3, the apostles, in their own words, was telling what had happened after Jesus was crucified, killed, and buried, and what happened on the third day. Listen to what they said. To these apostles, to us, they said, he also presented himself alive after his sufferings by many convincing proofs. Now think of this. The disciples are saying that he appeared to us and convinced us with many convincing proofs that he'd been raised from the dead. And then it says this, appearing to them over a period of 40 days. Not 40 hours, not 4 days, but for 40 days he appeared to them. In their own words, they said, with many convincing proofs. In the Greek, it means overwhelming evidence that he'd been raised from the dead. They wrote as eyewitnesses. All the way through the book of Acts, the entire church was founded on eyewitness testimony. For example, in 2 Peter 1:16, Peter said, we did not follow cleverly devised tales. People today say, you can't trust people back there. They couldn't tell the difference between truth and tales, or fact or fiction, or history or hoax. Look, I'll put Paul and Peter and some of the other apostles up against any professor in any university today. Come on, where university professors and all would teach that the Da Vinci Code was true, it was factual. Get real. Listen to what Peter said. He said, we did not follow cleverly devised tales. In other words, he was saying, we know the difference between truth and tales. He said, we didn't follow cleverly devised tales. We made known to you the power and coming of the Lord Jesus. But what were they? He said, we were eyewitnesses. They wrote as eyewitnesses. And that's some of the most powerful testimony we have for any event or person in history.